Hi, I'm Lauren. I recently had an experience that has to do with talking to people online. Tell me, have you ever gone on a blind date? What did you think about it? I know, nowadays it's almost irrelevant. There's profile photos everywhere. But nevertheless, I experienced it and now I will tell you all about it. I think I was around 19. I've always been a sociable girl. I did not really have any insecurities. I had friends, hobbies. I did not distance myself and I was not at home all the time. I loved parties and still I was a good student. I liked everything in my life except that I was lonely. I mean, I've never had a relationship and I really wanted to have a boyfriend. After all, many girls dream about it. So I decided to be more active on social media to just try and meet new people. All my friends had boyfriends, or at least guys they were talking to. Life was interesting for them, but not for me. I had no idea why my love life was so bad. I heard about relationships with boys only through the conversations with my friends. And although they all quarreled with their boyfriends and were annoyed by them, I still believed that it was fun to be in a relationship. So I also wanted to try it, and it became my main goal. As I said, I began to actively use social media, post photos, and write Facebook statuses. People wanted to be friends with me, followed me, and liked my photos, but nothing more than that. Because I was so upset, my friend somehow made me go to one cool cafe, and it was of course like back home, but the atmosphere was just different. So we ordered coffee and then took out a computer and made ourselves comfortable. My friend began to advise me to get on a dating site. At first, the very idea of this seemed bad. Like, I wasn't that desperate to go looking for a guy on a dating site. Well, I don't get it. What are we doing here then? And why did you cry about not having a boyfriend all the way here? Do you want one? My friend asked bluntly. I felt ashamed and agreed. Well, I really had nothing to lose. About 30 minutes later, after registering, a guy messaged me with a hello. We looked at his profile. His name was Alby. Instead of a profile photo, he had some picture, and I wondered how he looked, but my friend asked me not to rush things, like everything has its time. So we began to message, and somehow 2 hours passed. My friend said that apparently he was a good guy because he behaved politely, wasn't rude, and most importantly, wasn't a pervert, because there were a lot of them. She advised me to talk to him again. So she said I should talk to him again and see what happens next. I agreed. We exchanged phone numbers and then he called me in the evening the next day. And you know what? He had an amazing voice. I was ready to listen to this pleasant male voice like music. He calmed me down and acted so bewitching. I could not hide my delight. I said that I really liked listening to him. And we talked about a lot of things. I really fell in love with his voice, his thoughts, behavior, and his calmness. So we talked for about a week. I asked him for a photo, but he said that he did not like to be photographed and invited me to meet him in real life, and I immediately agreed. We talked so much that week and it seemed like I already knew him well enough. We chose a day, a place, and said goodbye on the phone. I was so happy. I spent the whole of the next day in search of the perfect dress. I did my nails and I was mentally ready. I ran through our conversations in my head, and I was imagining how we walked together and how he kisses me at the end of the evening. A slight chill ran through my body. Entering the restaurant, I called his name and I was escorted to the table. Alby wasn't there yet, and it seemed strange to me because it's the women who should be late. However, I did not sit alone for long. After about 20 minutes, a man approached me and I just glanced at him and saying that I had ordered my food. What? Excuse me? He asked, and I said that someone else took my order. Lauren, it's me, Alby, he said. At that moment, I took a deep breath and looked at him in shock. I saw in front of me a guy with a slight bald spot on his head. He wasn't tall, even a little shorter than me, of average build, in glasses, and in a weird outfit. His appearance was so much different from the image that I came up with in my head, and I did not even immediately recognize his gorgeous voice. Alby? Oh my god, sorry, I was just distracted, I said quickly with a tone of hysteria. I wanted me to be wrong, that it was just a prank, that I would sink into the ground, and that I should have just said that I was sick. But this was already too late. Alby looked at me straight in my eyes, and then I pointed to the chair so that he would sit down. I looked at him, and maybe my expression wasn't polite, but there was nothing I could do about my own disappointment. You can never imagine how upset I was. Alby noticed my feelings, but out of decency, he did not ask me uncomfortable questions, for which I was really grateful. When the waiter came to us and took the order, I came to my senses a little. Alby asked how I was doing, how my day went, and which helped start the conversation. Within 5 minutes, we were talking like those times on the phone. I was fine with everything, except his appearance. But on the other hand, if he was handsome, would he actually be on a dating site? Probably not. We talked for the rest of the evening and then I drove home. Alby accompanied me and I prayed that he would not kiss me, and he did not. When I entered my room, I received a message that Alby understood everything and did not want to deprive me of the opportunity to find my happiness. He was so sorry that he disappointed me with his appearance and asked for forgiveness. If you're hungry or just want coffee, come to the cafe around the corner. I worked there. Oh God, it was such a terrible message to get. I felt so ashamed of myself. I tried to write something back, but I could not find the words. In the end, I just wrote thank you, and that's it. Interestingly enough, after that moment, other guys began to message me on the dating site, and I asked for photos and agreed to dates only with the good-looking ones. One of them invited me to roller skate, and I agreed. I don't even remember his name. I guess we just quickly arranged the date. He invited me for a walk, bought takeaway coffee, and we sat on a bench in the park. And before he had time to finish his coffee, he began to ask where I lived, with whom, and so on. Such questions confused me, and then he asked, "So, are we going to your place?" Such rude words triggered me. I told him to get lost and I got up and wanted to leave, but that crazy dude chased me. Apparently, my middle finger hurt his feelings. I started to run as fast as I could, and he was tall, handsome, and also ran fast. So I began to understand that he was some kind of maniac or something like that. I was so scared, and there was no one along the way. Then I suddenly turned a corner and remembered about the restaurant where Alby worked, and ran into that direction. At this time, the place was closing, and I was just lucky that the last one to leave was Alby. He saw me from afar, waited, and helped me to get in, and then closed the door and hit the guy, even though he was much smaller than him. That guy could have killed him in one blow, but then I showed him my phone, pretending that I filmed him, and then threatened to show it to the police, and he ran away. Alby closed the cafe, and we sat on the floor to catch our breath. I did not know how to thank him, but he didn't expect it. After a couple of minutes, he offered me food and hot tea. We chatted again until morning. I told him everything as it was and still thanked him for the risk, for not being afraid. "You're a good person and a wonderful woman. I could not help but interfere," he said. At that moment, I really realized how stupid I was because Alby was the best person in my life. So kind, humble, and selfless. Long story short, 6 months later, we got married and now we're expecting our first child. So girls, don't judge men for their appearance. Judge them by their actions. If you like this story, then give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below.